Hello everybody, welcome to the top 8 here of the Legends of Runeterra Invitational, hosted by Riot, Korea, and Inven. My name is Boulevard, going to be bringing you an English broadcast here today. Getting us started off with round 1 of Xixo versus N3. Game number 1 here. Now, as you may notice on the side of N3, this Elnuc Ezreal deck was not in his original lineup in the round of 16. Players in this tournament have been allowed to change their decks in between each round, not having to stick to the regional compositions that they brought in initially either. So N3 electing to change his entire lineup here, going into the top 8, starting us off in the round of 16 with a Teemo Darius aggro deck, a Elise Ash Harrowing deck, and a Lux Karma Control, switching over today to a Lucian Fiora Noxus aggro, an Elnuc Ezreal, and Shadow Isle Ionia no champion control, with a couple copies of Rasa the Sunderer and Mina Swiftfoot. Hopefully we can get to see that deck in action a little bit later on here in this match. Xixo electing to stay with the same regional compositions, however, importantly, switching up his Shadow Isle Demacia deck a lot and making a minor tweak here to his Noxus Piltover deck. That Brothers Bond in his hand, the only copy left in the deck, after he cut 2 of those and a Decimate for 3 copies of Astute Academic, which we may see come down a little bit later here. So, have a pass by Xixo, or sorry, a pass by N3 on turn 2. Xixo gonna get down the House Spider, almost certainly going to be matched by an Avarosan Sentry here. Now the Elnuc Ezreal deck you would theoretically expect to be good versus these aggro decks, the Frostbite effects, you know, known to stunt the aggro matchup. However, without early units to contest the board, it can be difficult to actually get value out of these Frostbite effects. However, Draven going to be a prime target for this Iceveil Archer. And we'll have to see how the attacks line up on the side of Xixo. A rather complicated series of attacks could be coming out here. Not going to speculate into all of the options as well as the blocks that could be lined up by N3. But the one play to highlight here is that Draven attacking cannot get blocked by this Iceveil Archer under normal circumstances, as the Spinning Axe would come down, give Draven the one attack, and the first strike would be a clean kill for Draven onto the Iceveil Archer. However, there is a Brittle Steel in the hand of N3 that will put that Draven back down to 0 attack and get a clean kill onto it with this Iceveil Archer. We'll see how things shape up here, what Xixo wants to go for. The Legion Rearguard almost certainly going to be an attack. Draven might get held back. Depends on the reads by each player. The Spinning Axe is public information, but Xixo going to lock in a full swing out, which now leaves N3 with some options. Knowing Spinning Axe is the only thing that could possibly be played here by Xixo, deciding if he wants to use this Brittle Steel on it, will move it over to the Draven, pushing that Avarosan Sentry onto the Legion Rearguard. Xixo now has to consider, does N3 just want to force a discard onto this Spinning Axe, or does he have something up his sleeve? Would be crazy not to play the axe though, as if N3 does have something up his sleeve, you don't want to leave him with it, and it's going to be a Rummage discarded for the Spinning Axe onto the Draven. And then the Brutal Steel out by N3, pushing that back down to 0 attack, falling down to 14 life himself, but maintaining a rather healthy life total, all things considered, for this Noxus Piltover deck going first. Card advantage definitely on the side of N3. Now it's going to be a matter of if this Ezreal wants to come down sometime soon and start picking off the board with the Mystic Shots. A lot of 4-drops in the hand of N3 though, might decide to get one of those down instead. Looks like it will be the Bull Elnuc coming down, going to value the 1 health over the shrooms created by the Chumpwump. Another House Spider by Xixo. Generally, the weakness of this Ezreal deck against the aggressive decks is that they don't have a lot to deal with wide boards. True Shot Barrage all but cut from these lists. However, Xixo with 6 units on board, putting out a pretty unimpressive 9 damage, which Xixo, or N3 rather, will get some nice blocks onto, electing not to use the Mystic Shot onto the last House Spider. Fine, putting himself down to 9. We'll see if it will be the second Bull Elnuc, or if he finally wants to get a Chumpwump down. Might even go for the Ezreal. Just float that spell mana into the next turn, go for some Mystic Shot plays. Xixo, considering the Brothers Bond, if he wants to push through some damage. No clean trades thanks to the Brothers Bond, as there is 5 health on that Bull Elnuc. Could get punished here if he goes for it into a Mystic Shot. Relatively weak board so far on the side of Xixo. Does have this Boom Crew rookie, though, to push out more damage. Could be wanting to save this Brothers Bond for the Draven, as it is a rather prime target having the first strike. But it is just going to be the trades going down. 9 life on the side of N3 to the 16 of Xixo. However, N3 can start pushing down a decent amount of damage this turn. Just has to find the time to actually get these 4-cost units onto the board, considering the Ezreal, but is going to pair his Bull Elnuk with another one. And will be Draven coming down for Xixo, creating another Spinning Axe. Could see the Boom Crew rookie come down, or just save the spell mana for the Brothers Bond. And we'll be saving the spell mana, as we are going into N3's attack turn. And an Augmented Experimenter pickup for Xixo. Gonna help him to refuel his dwindling cards. It's a question of, does he want to throw some spiders under the bus here, get this Boom Crew rookie down, and save the Experimenter for next turn? Or does he value the draw? A really heads-up play there, actually, to save the mana for the Brothers Bond as well as the board space. Playing to the out that was the top-decked Experimenter and getting rewarded for it. Chumpwump now coming down on the side of N3, deciding to play mana efficiently rather than get these free Mystic shots. But the Brothers Bond into the Experimenter might come down, could save the spell mana for something that he draws this turn. Mystic shots and Get Excited's in the deck of both players still. Looks like the Brothers Bond will be getting played first. Could throw it onto some 1/1 spiders to beefen up his board, diversify the threats. However, Static Shock still in the deck of N3. Generally see 3 copies of that coming out, and 4 mana still available. Gonna make the safe play, throw it onto the Draven and the House Spider. Then going to be the Spinning Axe onto the Boom Crew rookie, onto the House Spider, making it able to trade with this Bull Elnuk. And then the Augmented Experimenter going to take out the 3 health one. Xixo, no cards in hand, going to refuel with this Experimenter, as there is no deny going to come out of a Piltover and Zonfrelior deck. N3 deciding if the Get Excited onto the Draven is a play that he wants to make. No toughness buffs in the deck of Xixo, though, or in the regions he has chosen here anyway. And the Jinx pickup going to be really big. Does have 6 mana going into the 7 mana turn next turn. If he top decks a 1-drop, could upgrade this Jinx, assuming some 1/1 spiders get thrown under the bus this turn to clear up some board space. Tapped out this turn, though, so the Astute Academic not going to be able to come down until next turn at the earliest. And will just be attacks from the Bull Elnuk and Chumpwump, not wanting to throw that Icevale Archer into a 1/1 spider when you can get a lot more value blocking something like this Experimenter. We'll see how the blocks line up here for Xixo. Almost certainly just going to throw a couple of 1/1s under the bus, free up some board space for this Jinx and Experimenter. Hope to draw a Rummage, perhaps, would actually probably be the best draw for Xixo. Get this Jury Rig down for free. Get a couple more cards with the Jinx out. And will just be the trades onto the spiders for the 4-drops. Going to pass back, no mushrooms coming out, no Mystic Shot clearing anything up. Gonna save his spell mana. And a Thermogenic Beam. Oh, and a Flame Chompers for Xixo. Going to be 1 mana too many in his hand to get this Jinx evolution off this turn, unless he can get a Spinning Axe. Is his turn to attack. Might see the Jinx come down first, as she does have first strike. But it's going to be a Jury Rig to get us started here. And then just a attack with everything Jury Rig. Of course, being a burst spell does not give N3 a priority sequence to play his own cards. No freeze effects on the side of N3 either. So there's going to be blocks lining up. First, we've got Bull Elnuk onto the Augmented Experimenter. Chumpwump onto a Spiderling. This Icevale Archer almost certainly going to go the way of the House Spider then. Preserving as many units as possible on the side of N3. And there's the Icevale onto the House Spider. Will be the Get Excited coming down, discarding a Mushroom for N3. Only going to take 1 damage this turn. Not a whole lot that Xixo can do about this. And now we'll see if he gets this Jinx down this turn, or if he wants to wait until the next. No upgrade option available for him, as the Draven was taken out before he could connect and get that spinning axe. This game wholly in the favor of N3 at the moment, as he does have clean answers for this Jinx. Jinx could be coming down now, as there is not enough mana between Get Excited or Thermogenic Beam to deal with her on the side of N3 for the rest of this turn. Will be Xixo getting that Jinx down. Flame Chomper is the only card left in his hand. But 8 is a lot of life with the Decimate cut from the list of Xixo. Shaking his head here, not happy with the way this one has played out so far. Gonna get the pass over to N3. A Harsh Winds pickup is actually really big here, and a Boom Crew Rookie on the side of Xixo could be what he needs to push through this last 8 damage. Gonna play that out in the face of the Ezreal developed by N3. N3 deciding if he wants to Thermogenic Beam this Jinx pre-combat. Would stop the evolution if Xixo has a unit in hand. Going to take that one back real quick. Instead, just going to go straight to combat. Deciding, I don't care about this Jinx upgrade, I can deal with her later, as he will have 2 Mystic Shots and a Thermogenic Beam to play with. Deciding if he wants to attack with this Chump Wump and Bull Elnuk. We'll leave the 4-1 Bull Elnuk behind, not willing to sacrifice that into the Jury Rig. It's going to be the Jury Rig onto the 4-4, and this Astute Academic thrown under the bus of the Chump Wump. Jury Rig, the last card coming out from Xixo, is going to upgrade this Jinx. However, she will not survive to give him the 2 draws. It's going to take a big top deck from Xixo here, either another Augmented Experimenter or Jinx. However, 2 Mystic Shot could come down on the Jinx, saving the Thermogenic Beam for a second one if Xixo can top deck it. But it will just be starting off with the 2 Mystic Shots onto the Jinx. This Ezreal very close to upgrading. We'll likely see a pass here from N3. No, actually going to use the Thermogenic Beam onto the Flame Chompers. Ezreal 1 away from evolution now. In this game, wholly in the hands of Xixo, or N3 rather, Xixo not able to find anything off the top, and Astute Academic not going to cut it here. 8 damage is a lot to chew through with just a Boom Crew Rookie. Get Excited and Mystic Shots still in the deck, but almost certainly will not be coming out fast enough. And the Avarosan Sentry going to help protect the board of N3 even more. Will just be a pass by Xixo after the Experimenter. No attack with the Rookie. Deciding to preserve his own life total and try and stall out for a Jinx or Augmented Experimenter. It's going to be a full swing out from N3. Does have the Harsh Winds to upgrade the Ezreal, as well as make sure his trades go through uninterrupted. This attack will put... Nope, it's going to be the Brittle Steel onto the Academic, going to upgrade the Ezreal here. And if my math is right, 6 damage going to put Xixo at 9 to the 8 of N3. And then with 3 Mushrooms and a Mystic Shot in hand created by the Ezreal, that should be all she wrote here in game number 1. N3 moving up in the series 1-0. Going to take that deck off the table, is going to have to move into other things, and the Get Excited drawn off the Avarosan Sentry. Mystic Shot going at the face, and the surrender from Xixo, understanding that the Shrooms in hand will kill him here. That is going to be N3 taking game number 1 here in the top 8. Hello everyone and welcome to game number 2 here between Xixo and N3. N3 going to be leading this series 1-0 after picking up a win with his Elnuk Ezreal deck against Xixo's Jinx Draven. Now these are the decks I wanted to get into a little bit earlier. Now, Xixo did elect to keep the same regional lineup going into this top 8. However, his Shadow Isle Demacia deck has done a complete 180, where in the round of 16 he was running a fearsome deck with a couple of Demacia cards splashed, and has since turned around completely to be a Demacia deck with just 3 copies of the Rekindler coming out as his only Shadow Isle cards. Meanwhile, on the side of N3, we have a very unique Shadow Isle control deck with Ionia. No champions coming out, no Karmas or Threshes or anything like that. Just good old-fashioned followers and spells with 3 copies of Mina Swiftfoot and Rasa the Sunderer. Going to be a heavy tempo-based strategy going into the late game. No Ruination coming out either is going to bite him a little bit in this matchup. Very effective card against the elite decks, as they tend to run out of cards going into the mid game. And of course, no Deny coming out, as there is no Ionia in the deck. Going to be an Emerald Awakener down on the side of N3. 3 Herald of the Spring in this deck as well, along with the Darkwater Scourge Deathmark package. So a lot of lifesteal coming in for this Shadow Isle control deck. 3 copies of Kinku Lifeblade and some Soul Gorgers as well. However, a Senna comes down on the side of Xixo, and of course, First Strike not going to care at all about this lifesteal. It is going to be a pass from N3 and a pass from Xixo. Now, Lucian could be a big swing here with and there's the Lucian off the top for Xixo. Now, Lucian, for those of you that do not know, requires 4 allied units to die to upgrade, or that condition can also be fulfilled if just a Senna dies, and Senna, being the only follower with an upgrade mechanic of her own, will become a 5/3 with double strike if Lucian dies while she's on field. It's going to be a Brightsteel Protector down onto this Fleet Feather, going to eat up this Emerald Awakener rather easily. 7 mana on the side of N3, which is not enough for both of his spells, is going to be the Herald of Spring coming down. Does have a Spirit's Refuge to protect that. I would imagine the Fleet Feather going to eat the Emerald, and the Lucian coming down from Xixo. Now, there is a tough choice on the side of N3, as this Lucian does put the nail in a lot of plays here. Spirit's Refuge could come down on this Herald to block out either the Lucian or Senna and trade back onto it. However, if the trade comes down onto the Senna, then Lucian will upgrade. And that is also a double strike unit, which will push a lot of damage here onto N3. Not enough attack on his lifestealers to push through that. So it will be the trade onto the Lucian. Luckily for N3, Xixo put the Lucian all the way to the right, so Senna will upgrade afterwards, and you can see him shaking his head there, realizing that if he had seen this coming, he could have pushed through 5 extra damage and would have put N3 down to 2. Just seems a small oversight on the side of Xixo, however, still completely in control of this game, as there is a very heavy costed hand on the side of N3 with these 2 Mina Swiftfoots and the Soul Gorger. Soul Gorger, unfortunately, not going to be coming down at the opportune time, as he is very likely to come down post-combat. No Emerald Awakener played out by N3 here. Could just be the Garen coming down by Xixo. Might float some spell mana into the next turn for this single combat. But things definitely not looking good for N3. No great use of Will of Ionia, and Xixo is just going to float the spell mana. Going to be 9 mana for both players now. Now, I do not know if the players get to know the other one's deck list. I know they get to see the regional composition beforehand to make informed decisions about which deck they want to take. So Xixo could be playing into Ruination here. While there are no actual copies in the deck of N3, always a consideration. And Xixo seems once again a little unhappy with his play this game, throwing down this Fleet Feather Tracker, almost certainly going to be accompanied by this Brightsteel Protector. Could have just gone straight to combat, playing a little bit too safe here, a little risky at the same time. Wanting to build up his board for a safer line, for a safer lethal, however giving N3 access to play things at slow speed, like more units. It is going to be Garen coming down on the side of Xixo, and looking at this hand of N3, I'm not seeing any way out of this. Will of Ionia almost certainly going to be used on the Senna, as she does represent 10 damage. These Fleet Feather Trackers almost certainly going to be put all the way to the right to eat up the lifesteal minions on the side of N3, allowing everything else to go through uninterrupted, which, by my math, pushes out about 11 damage, assuming a War Chef onto a Brightsteel Protector or Garen. Most likely the Brightsteel. N3 looking at his Mina Swiftfoots regrettably, drawing just a few too many this game. Soul Gorger could have come out, but with this much damage on the side of Xixo, Will of Ionia almost certainly the better play, accompanied by another minion. Things could have looked a little better for N3 if he had played this Emerald Awakener last turn, however electing not to. And it is going to be the Will of Ionia onto the War Chef Senna. That, however, is still 11 damage, or 10 damage rather, from Xixo, and that will be game number 2, going his way very quickly with this Lucian Garen Elite deck. We are all tied up here with 1 win apiece in this top 8 match between Xixo and N3. Xixo electing to stay with the same elusive deck that he took in the top 16, and of course N3 changing his entire lineup, going to show us something new and interesting with his Lucian, Fiora, Noxus aggro. Once these players finish their mulligans, I do want to get into some of the more interesting anecdotes of N3's deck, as it is unlike anything we have seen before here previously. So, 3 copies of Legion Marauder, as you see in his hand there, as well as 3 Vanguard First Blade and Battering Ram, as well as 3 Decisive Maneuver, definitely saying I want to take additional combat phases, but interestingly enough, there are no copies of Relentless Pursuit in this deck, and electing to go for Fiora instead of Katarina does mean this Lucian will be the only way for him to take additional combat phases, either through the Lucian upgrade or additional copies turning into Relentless Pursuit in his hand. Going to be a bit of a dance between the two players on turn 2. As neither one plays anything, just floating a couple spell mana. The Zed coming down from Xixo is going to threaten a lot of damage. Is a Whirling Death on the side of N3. Could be getting played down here, and it looks like the Legion Marauder going to be the consideration instead. Putting that back really quick and going for the Lucian. Going to turn on this Fleet Feather Tracker and still leave the Whirling Death available. A swing out from Xixo as nothing has the health to cleanly block this Navori Blade Scout. It will just be a trade onto the Fleet Feather with likely a Whirling Death into the Zed. Instead, going to block the Zed with the Fleet Feather Tracker and Whirling Death it. Now, if Xixo had Elixir of Iron, this would mean that the Zed would remain blocked and not upgrade, and because he does not, it does mean that the Fleet Feather Tracker stays alive, deciding to focus on the Challenger aspect of it rather than killing the Navori Blade Scout with a trade, playing around Elixir of Iron just a little bit safer there. Now we are going to see a Fiora top deck out of N3. The more challengers he can get, the better. However, Xixo, maintaining a very high life lead, does put N3's back against the wall in this turn. Now, Xixo could play some units and get them challenged by this Fiora and Fleet Feather Tracker. Almost certainly not going to be the play. Does still have this Will of Ionia in hand, but almost no room to play at this turn. And if Xixo doesn't play anything, N3 has a choice to make. He could go to combat and try and start a race here, getting Xixo down on life, hopefully down to his level. So it would be about 6 damage coming through. Actually, just 5 is the Fiora, almost certainly going to challenge this Navori Blade Scout. So it would even up the life totals about 15 to 13 in favor of Xixo. And then Xixo has free reign to play out elusive units, or he could pass the turn and hope Xixo doesn't have enough elusives to continue to put them down on his turn, which, as we can all see, he does. So N3 just in a very unfortunate spot here, going to be thinking... And Xixo is just going to pass, which means now N3 can either pass back and get blown out by these elusives next turn, giving a huge life swing over to Xixo, or he can try and start a race, hoping Xixo doesn't have a lot of low-cost elusive units, which, as we all know, he does. So this Navori Blade Scout almost certainly going to get challenged by the Fiora. Would be very surprised to see anything come out of Xixo in response to that. Will be the 5 damage push through. And then the 2 Green Glade duos almost certainly going to come down here, followed by that Kinku Wayfinder. Could spell the end of N3 if 2 Navori Blade Scouts come out. Will just be a pass. No spells yet for N3. Not a lot in the deck, just Chain Vest, Purify. A couple copies of Culling Strike certainly help here. Instead, top decking a Vanguard First Blade, and it's going to be an Omen Hawk and a Navori Blade Scout out of this Wayfinder. Means 12 elusive damage is going to come out at N3. Going to put him at 1. Going to have to consider very carefully what he plays this turn. Could get down 2 units, or could get down the First Blade. We'll go for the 2 units, getting down a Legion Marauder to start. Does have to play something in order to get these blocks down. Attacks being lined up by Xixo is going to throw in the Kinku Wayfinder for good measure, as there is nothing with enough health to cleanly eat it on the side of N3. Legion Marauder into that, as well as the 12 damage coming through from the duos and the Navori Conspirator is going to put N3 in a really rough spot. That is the first Lucian death of a unit that he has seen, so still very far away from that upgrade. This Legion Drummer going to get some clean trades down onto these Navori, or these Green Glade duos rather, and another Whirling Death picked up from N3 is really just going to be played out as an answer to this Will of Ionia, you would have to expect. Or he could go for a Cythria or Battering Ram here. Cythria would almost certainly be the play, and try and just push through damage. Let me count that up, actually. Would be 4, 3, 4, 4. would actually be lethal damage if the Cythria came out. Of course, we know it would not, as the Will of Ionia does still sit in the hand of Xixo, as well as some units he could play to block it, like this Navori Conspirator or Jeweled Protector. So instead, going to go for this Vanguard First Blade, keeping the Whirling Death on backup. Xixo, considering his play here, could get down a Shadow Assassin as a third elusive unit, as there are only 2 challengers on the side of N3 currently. Instead, going to go for the Jeweled Protector. It seems going to buff up this Hatchling, as it is the most likely unit to come down on turn 7. Does still leave him with this Will of Ionia mana. Now, N3 going to be lining up his attacks. Going to take the Fiora into this Green Glade duo. Legion Drummer giving Fiora the first strike. Then we'll see what else he wants to attack with. A lot of non-elusive units on the side of Xixo. N3 could save some of his attackers for blocks, instead going to swing out with the Lucian and the First Blade. This Navori Blade Scout finally going to block this Legion Drummer. That is the weakness of supporters. Most likely going to be a Will of Ionia onto this Fiora as well. We'll get matched by a Whirling Death. Jeweled Protector, deciding if it's going to block this Lucian or the First Blade, is going to be the Lucian. Would not upgrade this turn anyway, as the Fiora does have First Strike. Xixo deciding to use the Will of Ionia onto the Fiora. Whirling Death almost certainly going to come out in response here, most likely on the Fiora herself to get the upgrade down before she is returned to hand, as a 3-mana 4/4 is just better than a 3-mana 3/3. Of course, the upgrade and win condition counter on her going to reset, so she will come down 0 out of 4 if she does make it back to the ground, as Xixo looking to end this game on the next turn with the amount of elusives in his hand, and of course none in the deck of N3. Completely at the mercy of using spells to remove these units. It looks like the Whirling Death going to be played on the First Blade, and going to take that one back immediately. Going to throw the Fiora at the Green Glade duo, going to upgrade her before her trip back to the hand. Now we see the combat played out. That's one Green Glade duo down. Now upgrade on the Fiora. Absolutely love this little dance animation that she does. Unfortunately, going to be put away right after that, and there's a trade. There is another trade, and there is a Jeweled Protector killing a Lucian, which does just give Xixo lethal on the backswing, since N3 is only at 1, and he does have this Omen Hawk. A decisive maneuver off the top actually could be what he needs to save him if Xixo goes straight to combat. N3 can at least survive the turn, but no, the Navori Conspirator going to come down, bouncing the Omen Hawk back to his hand. Still, if Xixo goes straight to combat after this, still could prove to be the end. N3, only having 7 mana, not going to be able to play the Fiora and the decisive maneuver, does mean the Omen Hawk coming back down will be lethal. Xixo, visibly confused as to what his opponent could possibly have, trying to think through all the options and make sure he doesn't get blown out. Judgment, not a consideration, as N3 is only on 7 mana, as well as the fact that he doesn't run it. The Omen Hawk going to come down is going to spell the end of N3 here in game number 3. Xixo going to look to take the 2-0 lead. He's going to have to come back with his Piltoverans on Noxus that we saw him lose with earlier. N3 going to have to decide to stick on this deck or go back to the Shadow Isle Ionia control we saw earlier, and there is the surrender. Going to be Xixo leading this series 2-1. As we get into game number 4 here, it does mean that both players will be returning to decks that they have previously lost with in this match. Xixo returning to his last deck, the Jinx Draven Aggro, and N3 going back to his Shadow Isle Ionia championless control. Now, going to be an aggressive start on the side of Xixo, which will be relatively unanswered on the side of N3, electing to take advantage of Runeterra's spell mana system and not playing anything in his deck that costs less than 3 outside of Mark of the Isle and Herald of the Spring will mean that he's always going to be banking 3 spell mana into the turn 3, which is a cool mechanic that allows you to do something like that. And Xixo going to build up a big board that N3 currently can't do anything about. No Withering Wails on the side of N3. The only removal really being Grasp of the Undying and Will of Ionia, at least on the spell side of things. Of course, Mina Swiftfoot and Rasa the Sunderer for the units in terms of removal, as well as a slew of lifesteal minions like these two Emerald Awakeners that we see him with, going to come down and contest this Legion rearguard. Could see a Boom Crew rookie come down as well, or it could be the Mystic Shot, try and clear the path for 8 damage on the side of Xixo. Will be the Mystic Shot going on to this Emerald Awakener. Now Mark the Isle could come out here to contest this, and then would line up some interesting decisions on the side of Xixo, on whether he wants to throw his strongest minions to the left and try and bait a block, or if he just wants to pass the turn entirely, keep a larger board in lieu of pushing out more damage. Will be the Mark of the Isle. Oh, yep, there it goes, on to the Emerald Awakener. Going to let the Mystic Shot resolve, put this down to a 5-3, and now Xixo going to have some more awkward attacks to line up. Could still make it happen, though, and push through some damage. Instead, going to value his board, just passing over and letting that die due to the Ephemeral. This Flame Chomper's picked up. A pretty good pairing with the Get Excited. And no Death Mark just yet on the side of N3. Does just mean a Shadow Assassin will come down. Pick up a second Grasp of the Undying. Going to be matched by a second Astute Academic. The Shadow Assassin coming at Xixo. Get Excited, probably a consideration here. Would save him 2 damage, as well as get a blocker out of the way. Is just going to take the 2 damage, though. Going to be the life lead over to N3, and the Boom Crew rookie coming down on the side of Xixo. However, big turn for Xixo here. Does have a full board to swing with. The Undermine ability of the Boom Crew rookie going to come through. Would put N3 down to 6 if no blocks come out. In this case, going to be a block there. Will put him at 9. Could be a Grasp of the Undying or a Spirit Visage coming down as well to help contest the board a little bit more. Clear out some space. Instead, just going to be a pass from N3. Decides 9 is a fine life total to be at. Will develop his board instead with these Emerald Awakeners almost certainly going to come down. Decides that this board is wide but not threatening enough to warrant Grasp of the Undying just yet, as it is just 1 and 2 attack minions. Over 2 swings like that, and it will be lethal. Emerald Awakener going to contest that a little bit with the lifesteal. It's just going to be a pass from Xixo, not wanting to get the Jinx down, as there is still Grasp mana, and of course not having the mana himself to play her and upgrade her. Was only on 6 mana last turn, would have needed 7. Now the Boom Crew rookie. And this Darkwater Scourge, it looks like it's going to come down here. No Death Mark to be paired with it, but N3 needs the life swing. Xixo could block with his Spiderling in order to get down the Boom Crew rookie and Jinx, as well as Get Excited to play out his entire hand. Does have exactly enough mana for it. Is instead just going to let that happen. Now, does not have the option to play the Jinx and upgrade her and all of that, as his board is a little bit too full. Is going to get the Boom Crew rookie down instead. N3 thinking of his turn. Still only 1 and 2 attack minions on the side of Xixo. Decides the Emerald Awakener is enough to contest this. N3 once again with the life lead in this matchup as we go into another big attack turn for Xixo. The 2 Boom Crew rookies pushing through 4 damage. And there's the Death Mark off the top for N3 after the Mark of the Isle and the Darkwater Scourge are gone. This play will put N3 at 1. Looks like it will be blocks onto the Boom Crew rookies. We'll leave him at 7. However, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 11 does mean Xixo could go for this Get Excited before the attacks are all said and done. Would be lethal damage if N3 didn't have a response. Of course, we know he does. Xixo could just go for it anyway. Is a relatively low-risk play in terms of punishment, or he could use it on one of the Emerald Awakeners at a later time. Looks like the consideration is there from him. Thinking over the options and what his opponent could have, would almost certainly see a Grasp of the Undying as the answer. N3 once again checking. Will go down to 7 life if all of this works out. But it looks like it will be the Get Excited coming down. No room on the board for the Flame Chompers. Actually going to take it back And gonna take it back again. Gonna go for it. Seems running out of time here is Xixo. Is gonna go for this Get Excited. Discard the Flame Chompers. Is gonna throw it at N3's face, which will kill him as combat resolves. And it is going to be a Grasp of the Undying onto the Astute Academic, leaving him still with more Grasp mana if this Jinx were to come down. Xixo, left with a relatively weak board outside of the Boom Crew rookies, might not want to risk this Jinx, as it is his only refuel option currently. House Spider not going to get full value if it's played here either. These Boom Crew rookies softened up, but still getting their damage in. It's just going to be a pass from N3, not wanting to commit any more mana to the turn. Of course, the spell mana floating going to favor him, as Xixo is likely to draw more units, and it's going to be a Mina Swiftfoot coming down just a turn too early, and another Get Excited for Xixo. We are definitely approaching the turn where this Jinx is going to have to come down. But it will just be 2 attacks from the Emerald Awakeners for N3. Xixo could throw a Get Excited at 1 before we get to this Enlightened turn 10, and these become 6/6s harder to deal with. Of course, they will be 6/5s as they are damaged, but will be double Spirit's Refuge onto these Emerald Awakeners. The lifesteal going to be redundant, but the barrier going to soften up Xixo's board, as well as push N3 back to 13. Of course, that does mean no mana left to deal with this Jinx, as the Deathmark does not have an ephemeral target on the side of N3. Jinx going to come down here. Get Excited, almost certainly going to follow it up. Could go at the face, as the Super Mega Death Rocket would theoretically clear out these Emerald Awakeners, or could throw it at an Awakener to soften up the board, push through more damage on the attacks. We'll see how this goes. Almost certainly going to want to upgrade the Jinx this turn, though. Wants to get those 2 draws out rather than waiting until next turn. Will be the Get Excited, and it's going to go at the face. Going to throw the Get Excited at the face of N3, going to upgrade that Jinx. Going to go all in on this Super Mega Death Rocket play, hoping the 1 damage will clear out these Emerald Awakeners just a turn before they can finally get their full value. Have to assume that if they do live that long, this could swing heavily into N3's favor. Wants a Dark Water Scourge here, instead going to find a Shadow Assassin and 2 Jury Rig on the side of Xixo. Does mean he gets this Super Mega Death Rocket instantly. Doesn't have to pass priority back and forth, just gets it before the attacks go down. And that could be lethal here. Would give N3 a chance to play this Mina Swiftfoot. However, there still would be a lot of mana on the side of Xixo to replay his hand. Grasp of the Undying not having a great target here. So these Boom Crew rookies will push through their damage on attack, and Jinx just outside of the range of it after this upgrade will be the double Jury Rig. Here comes the Super Mega Death Rocket. Almost certainly to run into a deny, but will Xixo play it now or post-combat? Is actually just going to swing out. We'll let these Emerald Awakeners trade onto the Boom Crew rookies, negating their damage, but that's still lethal unless some more life gain can be found from N3. It will be Emerald Awakeners blocking onto this Boom Crew rookie, and no, just both the Boom Crew rookies will still put them at -4. After the Undermine's resolve and all that. Grasp of the Undying choosing its target here, almost certainly to be the Astute Academic, will leave N3 at 6, not in range of this Super Mega Death Rocket just yet. However, losing his Emerald Awakeners will put him back against the wall. Not enough mana for the Swiftfoot to come out, not even for the bounce effect, but just to get a large minion on board is going to have to be the Shadow Assassin. Will just be the Grasp over onto this Astute Academic. Once all is said and done, we'll put N3 at 6. Deny in hand for this Super Mega Death Rocket. Could save it for the next one, as this Jinx isn't going anywhere anytime soon, as there is no Vengeance in the deck of N3. Rasa, Deathmark, and Grasp being the only removal, if you don't count Will of Ionia and Mina Swiftfoot, as the bounce is relatively ineffective in the face of this Jinx Draven combination. Once the Jinx gets upgraded, very few tools for this deck to actually deal with it. It will be the deny onto the Super Mega Death Rocket. 3 mana, gonna float into the spell bank of Xixo. But it is N3's turn to attack. A Dark Water Surge could still swing the matchup here, but it's going to be a Will of Ionia and a third Jury Rig for Xixo, along with a Boom Crew rookie. And will be the Mina Swiftfoot coming down, just bouncing the Jinx and the Scuttlers, just wanting to get that unit down. Will still get the Super Mega Death Rocket this turn, as it is not a lot of mana to replay all of this, just a lot of 1 mana units in the hand of Xixo now. And only 1 mana left to contest this on the side of N3. A Scrap Scuttler going to come down, 2 damage push through and a block onto the Mina. We'll put this 11-6 in Xixo's favor. Boom Crew rookie along with the Scrap Scuttlers and Jury Rig going to empty the hand for this Jinx and the Super Mega Death Rocket. No mana left to contest it, no denies even if there was. It's going to take a miracle of a top deck for N3 here. Not sure if Darkwater Scourge would even be enough at this point, as we are going into Xixo's attack turn. This Boom Crew rookie will end the game on the spot, thanks to the Super Mega Death Rocket, putting him at 2. All up to the top deck now. What can N3 find? Xixo going to get 2 cards. And a second Will of Ionia in the face of a Draven and Rummage is definitely not going to get it done. Xixo can just go straight to combat, and Boom Crew rookie would end the game. Does have to consider the lifesteal options like another Grasp of the Undying, though. Does also have to consider that a Darkwater Scourge Deathmark could also come down here. Of course, Boom Crew rookie would end the game on the spot regardless, as the Undertow would resolve before combat damage. It will be the Draven coming down, going to give the Spinning Axe over to Xixo to discard this Rummage. Rummage generally would have actually been really bad here, as Xixo would not have been able to discard the 2 cards necessary, but Draven going to give him what he needs, and this Rummage not going to be the dead card it usually would. Will of Ionia will just get responded with a burst effect from the Spinning Axe into the Super Mega Death Rocket, which means there is no outplay potential for N3. Just going to pass the turn back, not wanting to get down this Rasa. Doesn't have the mana for Rasa and Will of Ionia, thanks to the initial nerfs back about a month ago to the Rasa, making him 8 instead of 7 mana. And that Super Mega Death Rocket going to be all she wrote here. N3 not happy about this Deathmark timing, and things just coming for him a little bit too late, a little bit too consistently. And this Super Mega Death Rocket is going to push Xixo into the top 4 here of this tournament. You can see the sigh of relief, and that's going to be Xixo taking it 3-1 over N3.